Welcome to part 3. So, I wrote the song while you guys were gone. Okay, I figured it'd be okay. I did that because I'm really not going to go through the songwriting process in depth right now. I'm going to make that a whole series by itself because it deserves it. It's the songwriting process. This series is more about production, and production does not always include songwriting. You might have had someone to write the song or have a song that's already written and all that good stuff. So basically, I'm just going to skim over that. What I did was I took this and I went and wrote the song to the loop that I had from the last video. And then, because during the songwriting process I ended up needing certain things, I added just what I needed to. This is basically something so that I could have a track to record the vocals to. This is not in any way supposed to be final. There are some things I'm going to do to the track while the vocals are in, because the song is technically the lyric and the melody. So that's the thing that's got to stick out. That's what's got to be out front. And everything in here has to support that. So the only way to know for sure if everything I do is supporting the vocal is to have a vocal in there. So as you can see, the screen, it looks a little bit different. It's because I brought in this acoustic track. Right? I showed you how to do that in the last video, but that is the actual guitar that was in the song. And then the guitar motif, which is this. Alright, so this is my basic verse group. This is what I wrote the verses to. I needed something to come in halfway through though, so I went on ahead and recorded a quick Rhodes part, keyboard part, right there. Hear that? So it goes a little something like this. I'm gonna go ahead and solo it for you. Okay, so that can loop. So let me talk a little bit about that and the relationship to the guitar. So I'm all about melodies and counter melodies and how many melodies I can get going on. Songs are not about chords for me. You know, I'm a keyboard player, I'm a guitar player and all that good stuff, but the identity of the song is not in the chords. The identity of the song is in the melody. So melodies are important, and the more melodies you can have in a song, the more pleasant it is to listen to. So I don't play the Rhodes as if I'm just playing chords and just playing the next chord and all the melodies come from something else like a lead or something. All right, so there is basically a melody here. It's an arpeggiated chord situation, which is kind of like having a melodic and chordal thing happen at the same time, right? But if I'm going to bring something in, let me make a melody out of it. So see that? Da, 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 da. Another da, 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 da. Right? So that's going on with the guitar, and then he's singing another one. And technically the bass line is a melody too. So you got 4 melodies going on at the same time. Yes, it can be done. It's not overcomplicated. They just have to agree with each other, and they have to support each other, and they have to know what space they're supposed to sit in, right? That's another type of pocket thing. We talked about the pocket in the first one. So I put the Rhodes in. That's cool. And then when I got to the chorus, I put a little bass in. It's a simple sine bass, which I got from the ES2. You can look at the settings of that and have the same bass. Now I adjusted the attack and release. Let's talk about that for a second. Okay, so that's called an envelope. attack, decay, sustain, and release. The most important ones are attack, sustain, and release. So we're just going to talk about that right now. Attack is the beginning of the sound. Sustain is if you hold the key down, does it sustain at the same level or does it fade while you're holding the key down? And at the end of that, how fast is it released? A sound that goes had a fast attack, slow release. A sound that goes slow attack, slow release. All right, attack and release are important when you're dealing with sounds, especially from a synth. I didn't want this to have a really slow release, so this bass patch is what I'm talking about here. See? Actually, listen to it now. I think the release is too fast. Here's release. See what that does? I don't want to do that because I plan to. So if you listen to this, right, the release is really fast. And so is the attack. Off. 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 See? Listening back to it, I think that release might be a little too fast. Let me do this. So if I did this. This is a monophonic sound, so only one note will play at a time. So the next note will cut off the last note. But if I make the release that long, it'll fade into the next note like it's doing now. I don't want that. I want somewhere around here. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's, well, there it is. I want a pretty fast release, but I don't want to click. So I want the same thing at the beginning of the sound. So let me go back to attack. I don't mind that little bit of click. You're not going to hear that in the mix too much. You don't want to get too bogged down into what things sound like by themselves, because everything is relative and it's what it's going to sound like in the mix that matters, not what it sounds like right now. Yeah. Those little clicks, you're not even going to hear that. I'm just being super anal. Which I can do sometimes because I like things to sound really, really good. Okay, so after this chorus, I'm gonna need probably something to sing to. Which is another reason I did the Rhodes, because you can't have just drums. I won't know if I'm on pitch or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and unmute that. Okay, so that Rhodes is just so you can have something a little different come in halfway through the chorus, so it doesn't get monotonous. Back to the chorus. Another thing about having a track skeleton like this when I record the vocals is to give the vocals room to do whatever I want to do with the vocals. If I do a whole lot with the vocals, sometimes I won't want to do a whole lot with the track because it'll just be too much. So it gives me room when I'm recording the vocals, and if I want to do something more, I can always come back and do it later. Yeah, we're gonna leave that on. Okay, so I did a bridge. this song is kind of funny. It's real pretty and sweet in the track and in the writing, but it's kind of funny as far as the concept is concerned, because I'm speaking from the perspective of a real 15-year-old. You know, it's important to stay true to your perspective. So I'm writing as a 15-year-old. I'm not just writing about being 15. So I say stuff in this record that can't possibly be true. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're the one as sure as my name is Terry. Like, he's 15 though. You know what I'm saying? So the first girl he sees that's unlike anyone he's ever seen before is the one, because he's a kid. He doesn't realize that there's an average of 9 relationships that people go through before they find someone who may or may not be the one. That's real life, right? But we're not talking about real life. We're talking about the perspective of a 15-year-old and how he sees the world. So I wrote from that perspective. Okay. I think I got enough to cut a scratch too. Why not just put it over here? Yeah, whatever. Okay, cool. So my format is right. That's one of our key words today. Format. Format is the structure of the song. So intro, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. And I'm thinking I'll do a vamp in this record. The reason I'm thinking I might is because I already did. So I know there's a vamp in this record. Vamp is the end of the record, right? Usually a repetitive thing that just keeps going at the end of the record that you can fade out to. So I believe I have. I'm trying to figure out why these guys are just over here by themselves. Let me find a home for them. That should do it. But I don't know why 2 of these are blue and 2 of them are another color. That's the cool thing about Logic. You can just grab one solo and then like do that. Just swipe up and down. It'll do the same thing to all the tracks. All right, so I'm gonna bounce this, and as you know, I cut audio in Pro Tools. Vocals being audio, I'm gonna cut them in Pro Tools, and I'm gonna show you how to use my Pro Tools template, which enhances workflow like a mug. You hear me? So we're gonna bounce this. Another keyword, bounce. Told you about that before. Create a 2-track stereo, left and right, of all this stuff, so I can take that and just record vocals to a 2-track. 2 reasons for that. 1, I don't need all these tracks when I'm cutting vocals. Okay? Number 2, it cuts down on computer resources being eaten up unnecessarily. I just got 1 2-track with no effects on it or anything, and all the attention to detail is happening in the vocals. I'm focused on the vocals. The track is only there to give me a guide of what to sing and where to sing it. All right? Let me see. I'll get it from bar 1 and just take it out to there. And it starts on 4. Oh. Yeah. Let's just... Let's get it from there. All right. 77 is the tempo. Although I may not need that at this point. Because I'll use the same Pro Tools session I used before. Bounce it. Bonksy tarong. Let's bonksy tarong. Yeah. Okay, so wave 2448. I always go with that, as you know. So you're starting to get to know me now. Like, we start getting to know each other like a bond. Like, you know I do 2448. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already know what I'm going to do. All right, so... we're going to bounce that. I'm just going to put it on the desktop. A15. I'm doing that because it's not going to be long enough for me to forget that, because I'm just going to grab it and put it in the other session. desktop A15. Bam! One thing I hate is a cluttered desktop. I hate that. Just look at my desktop and there's just icons everywhere, so I can't find nothing. Like, I hate that. Okay, organization is super important. I'm actually going to do a video just on organization and file structure and where to keep your files and how to keep them organized, so years from now you can look back and say, oh, I got this here, and just pull stuff up easily without being like, where did I put that? I was just randomly saving stuff all over my drive at the time because I was really stupid, and now I'm smart and I don't know what to do. We've all been stupid at one point or another, or many. What matters is what you are now. All right, now while we're talking about file structure, right, and how I hate a ugly and cluttered desktop, the way I get around that, because I'm putting stuff on my desktop all the time while I'm working, because my desktop is like a holding tank to take stuff between sessions, and to quickly email something to somebody, I just bounce it to the desktop and share it from there, right? So it can get cluttered easily. So what I do is I made a clutter folder on my desktop. What? So when it gets cluttered, anything I don't need to see anymore, I just throw in the clutter folder. And then every once in a while, I just go through the clutter folder and delete what I don't need anymore. And that's how I keep my desktop clean. You feel me? So now the clutter folder can get to be pretty big because you're a lot of times dealing with video files and audio files and stuff. So what I do is I use a alias instead of using the actual folder. That desktop is of course on my master hard drive, or my SSD is what I boot from, right? So that's going to be where your desktop is. However, I don't want all them files on my main hard drive. I want them on another hard drive, like this storage drive right here. So clutter is actually a folder in the storage drive that I put an alias to on my desktop, right? How you make an alias is you just take it and you hold down, on a Mac at least, Command Alt, and it creates an alias. Now that alias isn't really a folder, it just points to this folder when I made that one. So this says test. All right, cool. So if I open up test alias, where am I gonna go? Same folder. Look at that. All right, so that keeps the information off the wrong drive, but it keeps the folder on my desktop. So it works out quite well for me, I must say. Now let me get rid of the alias. When I get rid of the alias, as you can see, it does not get rid of the original folder. You can have a million aliases to the same folder, I believe. Let me see. Nice. 3 aliases all leading to the same folder on my desktop. You can put them in every drive if you want. You can have a folder on an alias on every drive pointing to the same folder, just so that no matter where you are, you can always get to that folder. If that folder is just that important to you, that those other 3 clicks just aren't within your budget. Okay? So as you know, I have bounced this A15, right? Let's go ahead and audition that real quick. Just see what it sounds like. Oh my god, that sounds great. Whoa. Alright. Now we're gonna open Pro Tools with Logic still open, just in case I want to change something. I can cut the whole vocal session with Logic open, actually, which I've done by accident. I don't like to do that, only because I like one thing going on at the same time and not to use unnecessary resources in my computer. But my food here. Yeah, my food's here. I can't talk to you right now. Okay, so what were we talking about? That food was so good. Like, I can't even. That food was good. I had some lamb kurma with some basmati rice. Oh my god, it was so good. It was so good. Okay, anyway, anybody knows me knows I love food. I love to cook it. I love to eat it. I love to smell it if I'm gonna eat it. If not, it'll piss me off. All right, so unless it's terrible, then smelling it is a good thing because I can just not eat it because I was forewarned by my olfactory senses. It's a defense mechanism if you really think about it. All right, anyway. A15. We know that's what we bounced it to. Pro Tools should be open at this point because it opened while I was killing that basmati rice with some. Oh wait. Okay. Open session. That's a cool record, but not the one. Oh, that's cool too. Not the one where another guitar. You know what? We open that. Yeah, let's open that one. Looks like we're in Pro Tools. Okay. So what I'm going to do here, all right, let's explain playlists. The same track can have many playlists. Think of it like this. It's a list that it plays one after the other. So it's linear, but think of it in a vertical way. So if you were to write a list and you write things down and then you tick them off, right, from the top down, that's basically what it's doing from left to right. Okay, it's got all these files, which are called regions, right? That's a region. This is a region, that's a region, that's a region. Regions can be MIDI or audio. So all those regions form a playlist. So the cool thing is I can use the same track without using the same playlist. So I'll go here right now and I will say new playlist and go here and I can just record something totally different and change the view to waveform. So it's as if nothing's there. But if I want to call it back up, all I got to do is go back to the playlist. Oh, look at that. Playlists are cool, guys. I like playlists a lot. And then I'll rename this playlist to, let me call this Terry Lead. All right. Bam. All right, so I'm going to record my lead vocals on that track, but I'm going to go through my auto-tune bus. Especially to cut the scratch vocal because I don't care. Okay. That comes in through my SSL left. We'll talk about mic chain in another one. But that's going to be sweet too. As opposed to sweet tooth. Which is something I've been called before. I'm not proud of it, but this song is in C. Yeah, C major. All right, so I'm going to take that to about... Actually, just lay the scratch vocal. I'm going to put this to like 10, 8. I mean, yeah. That's the retune speed, so it's how fast it goes from one note to the next. It's auto-tune stuff. This is the auto-tune you want to use, okay? That is pitch shift auto-tune mono, right? Not Evo, not EFX, just auto-tune, okay? The reason why I use that one is because the latency doesn't go crazy when I use it. All right. The other ones require so much processing that it kills your workflow because your latency is crazy. So I use that one if I'm printing through Auto-Tune, which is what I'm doing now. I'm actually going to route it so that the vocals come in through Auto-Tune first and then get printed to the track, which is something Pro Tools does really well. So we got this track we used to cut the guitars. I don't really want that for real. But you know what? Why not leave it there? I'll just use a playlist. New. Bam. Right? New. Ta-da. I don't need the bass either. So I need A15. There we go. Okay. An important thing to note here. When I drag that into the session, Pro Tools can do one of two things. It can use the file from its current location, or it can save it into the Pro Tools folder where the session is, right? So another guitar has a session folder that has a folder in it called audio. That's where all of these files are saved, okay? So I wanted to copy that into that folder because then if I move this, like if I delete this right now, it can still work. Because it's not playing from there anymore. As soon as I brought it in, it copied it into the Pro Tools folder. That's super important. Now let me find where that is because every time I do it, I got to find it all over again. There it is. All right, Copy files on import. Automatically copy files on import. Check that. Have that checked. All right, then you can pull stuff in from anywhere, and then it'll just copy it into here, so that at the end of everything, when you have a session folder full of your stuff, you know everything's in there. Or if you're sending a session to somebody, you know you sent everything in that session. There's not going to be files that won't come up because they were in some other extraneous drive on your computer. All right, so my mission in life at this point is to get this ready to cut a quick vocal to. So, all right, so I got the lead coming in here. Auto tune. Let me show you how I routed this. All right, so I have a bus called AT. I set that up in my IO setup, input output setup. Okay, so that's actually set up IO here. That's where all my physical inputs are. As I talk about in another video, I have an Aurora 16 instead of two 192s. But Pro Tools sees my Aurora 16 as two 192s. So that's how I set up my IO. Here are my buses, right? I made all these buses because of how my studio is set up. So I'll, take you through that another thing. So these are all my buses. AT, right, is right here. It's really bus number 1. It's left of bus number 1 and 2, which is bus number 1. And that is where I want my audio to be recorded from. Okay, so I have it routed this way. This is an aux input. Okay, so if I make a new track, right, one of the tracks I can select is aux input. So when I select aux input, it gives me a mono or stereo track like this. It doesn't have audio here because it's just an input. Okay, so auto tune is, I have that there. So my vocal comes in on SSL comp left. Okay, my mic goes to SSL. That's where my mic is. So I set this to here. Notice there's no record there because you don't record on aux input. The only reason I have that there is to have a stage between the vocal and where I'm cutting the vocal that has auto tune on it. I'm setting up the auto tune as if it were a piece of hardware that the vocals are going to before it gets into my computer. I'm just doing it on the inside because Pro Tools allows me to do that. So it comes in from SSL comp left, right? And it goes out of this bus, which is AT, stands for auto tune. Terry lead comes in from auto tune. So you can picture the signal path in your mind now. It goes in from SSL, comes out AT bus from the auto tune channel. And then I need to catch it somewhere. I'm going to catch it here. And I'm going to catch auto tune bus. All right? And I'm going to play it on whatever output I want to, which right now is set to vocals. Because I have 16 outputs. And I have vocals on 13 and 14. See? And I'm pretty much ready to cut the vocals. I don't need to hear this, so I'll do that. Yeah, just make that small. I don't really need it at all, but it's all good. Yeah, let's just hide it and make it inactive. I like to just not have extraneous stuff on my screen, Jack. I don't need backgrounds right now. I'm just doing a quick lead, so this is going to be called actually Scratch. Okay, there we go. I'm ready to cut my vocals. I'm going to do the whole remote control my studio thing, which is also a video that you can find here about using my laptop to control my studio. So that's what I'm going to do now to cut this quick vocal that's going to sound horrible. He going to make it sound sweet. I'm just going to let him hear what the song sounds like. You feel me? All right.